There are many parallels between both COVID and the climate. Firstly, a monolithic interpretation of the science, which precludes any debate or dissent. Anyone who challenges the prescribed narrative around either is immediately labelled a denier. Now, to invoke language linked to the horrors of the Holocaust is disproportionate, illiberal and deeply offensive to those accused and, more importantly, to the memory of those who suffered one of the worst, most hellish and evil episodes of human history. A silencing of debate is not the only similarity between COVID and climate. Dealing with both problems appears to involve enormous financial cost, with the poorest, as always, hit the hardest. Higher taxes and spiralling national debt are in both cases the inevitable consequence. And neither the measures to tackle COVID or the climate are supported by a democratic mandate. We didn't vote for lockdowns, for mask mandates, for social distancing, vaccine passports, closed schools, a part-time health service and a shut-down economy. And in the case of COVID, it wasn't the only option. Don't make me show you that graph comparing no lockdown Sweden to lockdown-loving police state Lithuania. All right, go on then. There it is. You can see the trajectory of the virus, very similar for both countries, except Sweden, in orange, performing far better in all cases. So the public did not vote for the Prime Minister's net zero agenda. It may be the right thing to do. It may not be. I've got an open mind. But it will be extraordinarily costly and it will impact your life. If that's not grounds for debate, democratic input and a diversity of scientific opinion, nothing is. Would Boris Johnson have smashed the red wall in 2019 if he had revealed this eco-mission in advance? I doubt it. I'm sorry, call me old-fashioned, but when a government rolls out a set of transformative policies that cost money and change lives, you'd think they would seek our view and canvass for our support. Doing seismic things to the country without asking the people is not the behaviour of a democratic government. It's the stuff of totalitarian regimes. We're having an airport here. We're putting a motorway there. We're going to raise taxes. We're going to lower them. We're going to put these people in jail. And so it goes on. This is where it ultimately leads. Now, I'm worried about the environment, and I think we have to look at what we're doing to the planet as a race. And I'm certainly all for less waste, less pollution. And Mrs. Dolan isn't keen on having the central heating on in the winter anyway. The house is freezing. But any changes must be done with the people's consent. And as with COVID measures, it must be based on personal choice. We dispensed with individual responsibility during the pandemic, and all we have to show for it is one of the highest COVID death tolls in the world and a divided and damaged country. We've had an 18-month flirtation with communism, and it hasn't been great, has it? But if we slavishly, unquestioningly follow the most extreme voices on the climate issue, we will be signing up for communism forever. With the state controlling your movements, how many flights you take, what you drive, to what precise degree you heat your home. Even the food on your plate could be a matter of the government's discretion. Just a few days ago, posh actress Joanna Lumley said we should have wartime rationing. And Government Minister Alok Sharma has just announced he's giving up meat to save the planet. Well, I'm surprised he had the energy to make the announcement. Expect more of this nudge politics in the foreseeable future. Wear a mask went from being a good idea to a mandate. And there's one other abiding theme that unites both so-called crises, both COVID and climate, and it's hypocrisy. With COVID, we had Dominic Cummings' ill-fated sight test in Barnard Castle, Scotland's chief medical advisor, Catherine Calderwood, sneaking off to her holiday home in lockdown, Professor Neil Ferguson breaking COVID rules to visit his mistress, and, of course, most notoriously, our own Health Secretary, the government's chipolata smuggler-in-chief, CCTV sex bomb, Matt Hancock. And we've seen countless examples of double standards when it comes to things like the wearing of masks. Remember, we've all had to wear them. Endless mandates, but check this out. Now, that's the Prime Minister with dignitaries. He poses for a photo. Once the photo's been taken, off the mask comes. What's the point in that? Or how about this classic from German Chancellor Angela Merkel? Now, she enters a building, so she's putting a mask on. I guess that's what the rules require. And you can see the military behind her, fully masked up. So there you go. She's doing her bit. She's saving lives, folks, with that wonderful, virtuous mask. She goes into the hall, and then, surprise, surprise, off the mask comes. It really is one rule for them, another for us. And here's a golden oldie from a US government spokesman putting on his mask before appearing on stage. Have a look. So when it goes, oh yeah, I better put this mask on. I've got a global audience in front of me. This is the new ideology, folks, the new religion. You tell me it's not a cult. What a right cult he is. And here's an example from the world of showbiz. The guests on Graham Norton's chat show, all spaced apart. It's the kind of tedious COVID theatre that makes me want to chuck a brick through my telly. The BBC specialise in it. But once the cameras have stopped rolling, here they are again, later. Oh, look, all cuddly, cuddly, with showbiz air kisses and not socially distanced. The elite are lecturing you. The elite are lying to you. And the elite are laughing at you. I think this tweet from one of my fabulous viewers sums it up. Take a look at this. It's from Russ. All for show, says Russ, just like when the rugby players stand 2 metres apart for the national anthems, then they're tackling, rucking and mauling 2 minutes later. Utter bollocks. Well done, Russ. I couldn't put it better myself. And the climate hypocrisy is on another level. Where do you start with climate hypocrisy? Well, let's start with Dana Strong. Here she is, the new boss of Sky, who are sponsoring COP26, Go Woke, Go Broke. And she has, according to the social commentator Bernie Spofforth, been commuting 3,500 miles from America to the UK in a private jet. You couldn't make it up. What about Amazon chief Jeff Bezos, whose £48 million Gulfstream jet led a parade of 400 private jets into COP26? Many thanks to the Mail Online for that story. Or what about President Joe Biden? Remember, the most woke president in history? Well, he toured Rome with a cavalcade of 85 cars. Why does he have 85 cars? Perhaps he keeps forgetting which one is his. President Biden's trip has apparently produced more carbon than the entirety of Scotland does in a year. But surely the biggest right royal hypocrite is the globe-trotting Prince of Wales. The Prince of Wales. Where do you start with this one? Now, Prince Charles, we've got a shot of him somewhere, right? Him telling you to cut back on your carbon footprint is like Count Dracula telling you to reduce your consumption of blood. Big business, the state, the media and celebrities are at war with the public, selling a range of devastating policies that they themselves will likely ignore, or they're wealthy enough to be insulated from them, whilst the rest of us pay the price. A colossal number of people have seen their lives ruined and millions have been made poorer globally by measures seen during the pandemic. And we're about to do it again for climate. In the end, I think we do have to act to preserve this great planet, and I take seriously concerns about its immediate and long-term health. The good news is that the green economy can generate jobs. Fossil fuels will run out in the long run anyway, and who doesn't want cleaner air and unpolluted seas chock full of healthy fish? So there is a positive case for action, but it's got to be done with the will and consent of you, the people. And it's got to be done in the context of sensible and balanced debate around the science. And it can't be done exclusively by, in relative terms, low-polluting countries like the UK. China, who haven't even bothered to show up to COP26, they won't even do a Zoom, while China are the elephant not in the room. Without the likes of China, India, Brazil and America seriously engaging, they are, after all, responsible for the lion's share of emissions. And without them pulling their weight, then the whole project is doomed. As with tackling tax avoidance, the approach has to be global. It's all for one, not one for all. The global elites are currently attempting a land grab of our money, our liberties and our lives. But there are more of us than them, and our voices must be heard, because all we've heard from the politicians so far is a load of hot air.